Did the items for Jane and Hannah arrive? Starting today, we're going to be supporting them, my husband Bob declared triumphantly over the phone. I was at a loss for words due to Bob's sudden declaration. It seemed like Jane and Hannah were the only ones on his mind, with no consideration for me. I contemplated discarding such a husband. Yeah, the stuff arrived, and I just moved into a new place. I responded in a deliberately cheerful tone. A new place? Bob muttered, then seemed stunned. My name is Caroline Smith, and I recently turned 50. I work in sales at a major company, and although the job comes with constant complaints and troubles from clients, it's rewarding and enjoyable. My only family is my husband Bob. We don't have children, and my parents passed away some time ago. My parents-in-law live nearby, but we aren't that close. We have a casual relationship. Bob loves dining out, often taking his sister Jane along for many outings. Jane's daughter, Hannah, always joins them. In the early stages of our marriage, I complained to Bob about him prioritizing Jane and her daughter over me. However, those feelings gradually faded. I want to repay them for the struggles I caused during my student days. After learning of Bob's sincere feelings, I understood that my in-laws are impoverished, living in a small, run-down apartment. It's incredibly cramped. Bob diligently pursued his studies, but he didn't pass his first-choice state university, only getting accepted into private ones. His parents couldn't afford to pay, so Jane, who was working at the time, helped with his tuition. Bob seems grateful to Jane for supporting him during difficult times. After Jane got married, she quit her job to be a stay-at-home mom, limiting her financial resources. After hearing this story, I stopped complaining, understanding the reasons for wanting to give back. I thought it best to let Bob do as he pleases, despite a bit of loneliness. I'm going to go out to eat with Jane and Hannah now, Bob said. Bob is going to dine out with Jane and her daughter today as well. Have a good time, I said with a smile, seeing him off. Let's continue to live supporting each other with Bob, who values family. That's what I thought. However, the rift in our relationship happened about 3 months ago. One day, Bob approached with a serious expression, saying, "In fact, Jane's getting a divorce. She's decided to keep custody of Hannah." When I heard Jane was divorcing, I was honestly perplexed. Jane was the type of person I found difficult to deal with, going back to when I visited Bob's parents' house before we got married. Jane laughed uproariously at me, saying, "Bob, you're marrying her? She's so plain and has bad taste." Bob and his parents didn't say a word, acting like they didn't notice. So I had no choice but to endure Jane's rude behavior as I remembered Bob's declaration. I'm going to visit home every day for a while. Unlike you, who's thick-skinned, Jane is delicate. And I'm worried about Hannah too. Bob disparaged me with a calm demeanor. However, I did not retort. Arguing with Bob here and then, having him perpetually visit his parents' house would also be a problem. Take care. I couldn't say anything else and just saw Bob off. From then on, Bob spent more time away from home. Until now, he often came home around 8 p.m. on weekdays, but there were times when he didn't return even by the next morning. He was almost never home on weekends, and my loneliness just grew. When I returned from work and called out, there was no response at all, and the room was pitch dark. He must be at his parents' house again. With Bob's absence, I often found myself downhearted. However, when Bob was home, he began to annoy me more and more. That day, Bob was uncharacteristically at home, but he made an unthinkable request of me. "Jane told me you haven't given a housewarming gift yet. You're so stingy. You're getting a bonus soon, right? Buy her a designer bag or something," Bob said, as if I must do so. "A housewarming gift? Why do I have to give one? Why don't you do it, Bob?" I responded in kind, but Bob instantly got angry. "You married into this family, so Jane's your family too, isn't she? Don't you think it's ill-mannered not to even be able to do a simple thing like giving a gift to family?" Bob berated me. The lecture from Bob went on for about an hour. In the end, he only said, "Anyway, Just make sure to give Jane and Hannah a gift before leaving the house. He's likely gone to his parents' house. I've never received anything from Jane, I murmured quietly. A few days later, I got a call from Jane. Hello, you heard from Bob, didn't you? You really don't think things through. Normally, you give a housewarming gift, Jane stated as if she deserved it. I got irritated at the selfish attitude, so I retaliated. You've never done anything for us either, have you? Even at our wedding, we didn't get a gift from you. During the wedding, Jane said with a smile, We're family, so we don't need a wedding gift, right? Anne handed over an empty gift envelope. But there's nothing inside, is there? I asked. Even when I asked, Jane put on an innocent face. I did buy the envelope, right? I'm so nice, aren't I? Jane said with full confidence. I was at a loss for words at Jane's utter lack of common sense, and Jane had absolutely no restraint. She heartily ate the wedding meal and drank several drinks outside of the course. Even when I handed Jane the catalog gift for the guests, she complained, Aren't there any luxurious items? If there were, I could take home several. Caroline, you really don't think things through. That was the outcome, with her complaining like that. Remembering all that, Jane replied with a scoff, You're my brother's wife. I don't need to give you anything, do I? You're the lowest in our family hierarchy. Rather, it's only natural for you to honor me. If you understand, go buy a new designer bag quickly. I was astounded at the way Jane spoke, unable to say anything. Hannah strikes up a conversation. Caroline, make sure you buy my bag too. It has to be the one exclusive to the Fifth Avenue store, or I won't forgive you. Bye, Hannah. Laughing loudly with a ha-ha-ha. Hung up just like that. Unbelievable. Why am I the only one who has to endure this? I heaved a big sigh. After that, Bob just stopped coming home. Whenever he did come back, he would take money from my wallet without any regard for my desperate attempts to stop him. You're always at home, so you're not going to use the money, right? I'll use it for something worthwhile. Be grateful. Waving a few bills, Bob left the house. I couldn't take this anymore. I was becoming worn out from Bob's selfish actions. Then one day, the doorbell rang, and I opened the front door. Hello, I said, and someone who appeared to be a mover said, Is this the residence of Mr. Bob Smith? We'll start moving the stuff right away, and began bringing a multitude of boxes into the house. I hurriedly tried to stop him, saying, Wait a minute, we didn't order this. However, the mover responded with a slight troubled look. It's Mr. Bob Smith's residence, right? We received a request directly from him. Perplexed by the mover's reply, I immediately called Bob. Fortunately, Bob answered right away. In the background of the call, I could hear the crude laughter of what seemed to be Jane and Hannah. I confronted Bob. There are movers here bringing box after box into our house. What's going on? Then, Bob said something completely unexpected. Oh, did the stuff for Jane and Hannah arrive? From today, we're going to be supporting them. I don't need your opinion, got it? Bob declared triumphantly over the phone. In the background, Jane started to speak. Welcome aboard. Since you don't have kids, you must be thrilled to take care of our Hannah, right? Be grateful. Hannah voiced her displeasure with a tinge of offense. What? This old lady is going to be like a parent? So embarrassing. I can't tell my friends. I was at a loss for words due to Bob's sudden declaration. Surely the in-laws' house must have become too cramped, prompting Jane to plead with him. Our house is bigger and has spare rooms. No doubt they were requested by Jane and Hannah, who knew about this. It seemed like Bob only had Jane and Hannah on his mind. There was not a shred of consideration for me. I might as well discard such a husband. I made up my mind as I remained silent. Bob continued to issue orders. Additional baggage will arrive in a week. I bought new furniture for Jane and Hannah online, so make sure to get things sorted out. We'll stay at our parents' place until then. We can't live in a room scattered with boxes. Bob said so with a laugh. Hey, isn't this too pitiful for Caroline? She has to sort out our stuff all by herself. Jane was also snickering. It's our precious belongings. Handle them with care. Hannah had the audacity to demand. I wanted to hang up this call so badly. All right. I simply said that and immediately hung up the phone. Right after hanging up the phone, I swiftly sprang into action. A week later, Bob called again. Did the additional baggage arrive? Did you tidy up the room properly? Bob probably wants to know the current state of the house. He seemed somewhat anxious. Unable to calm down, so I smiled sweetly. Yep, the stuff arrived. And I just moved into a new place. I responded in a deliberately cheerful tone. Ha, a new place. Bob muttered and then was stunned. In fact, on the day Jane and Hannah's belongings first arrived, I promptly sprang into action and headed to a local real estate agent, directly negotiating to find a place to live. Initially, they declined, stating it was impossible, as most places require renovations before moving in or have handover procedures, meaning you can't move in on the same day. However, after checking with several agents, I was introduced to a women-only shared housing. It came with automatic locks, providing a safe environment for women to live in. The bathroom, toilet, and kitchen were shared, and electricity and gas were already set up, allowing for immediate use. Additionally, a cleaning service came regularly, making it a well-thought-out housing option. Since it was furnished, minimal luggage would not be a problem. According to the real estate agent, there was just one room available. I'd like to see the room right away. I immediately requested from the agent. They took me to view it straight away. And just by taking one look inside the room, I decided I'll take it. When I shared this story, Bob was visibly shaken, even over the phone. Moving out on your own is utterly unreasonable, isn't it? We're a married couple. Apologize to me right now and come home, Bob scolded me. Jane, perhaps shaken, hysterically asked, What's happening with our room? Hannah too yelled angrily, Don't mess with us, old hack. Wan didn't rebut. Bob said, as if he thought of something clever, Do you think it's okay to do such a selfish thing? If we get divorced, you'll be the one in trouble, you know. That's right. With your age and looks, you won't find another suitor in the future, right? You're just a plain old lady. Your future is looking pretty bleak. How pitiful. Serves you right, Jane said, sounding rather pleased. In the background over the phone, Hannah was laughing and saying, The old lady's done for. At that moment, Bob said, sounding smug, If you apologize to us sincerely from now on, I'll forgive you. Unlike you, we're kind after all, he snorted through his nose, laughing. In the background of the call, Jane and Hannah were shouting in agreement, so I decided to set the record straight. Actually, Bob should be the one apologizing, don't you think? I know about the affair you're having. Bob was visibly shaken. The truth is, Bob had been cheating for over 3 months. The other woman was a colleague from his workplace. How did you find out? I thought I'd been utterly discreet. Bob asked, his voice trembling with fear. He must have been so sure he wouldn't get caught, so it wasn't surprising he reacted that way. Being the kind-hearted person that I am, I decided to tell him. I hired a private investigator just in case, because you've hardly been home, right? I thought maybe you were cheating. Good thing I trusted my instincts, and since Bob stayed silent, I just kept on going. I was shocked when the PI got back to me. They finished the investigation in 3 days. You were seeing her every day, huh? Those meals out with Jane and Hannah were only on your days off, it seems, I said, laughing. According to the PI's findings, Bob had been gallivanting around with his mistress every day after work. The money he'd likely been taking from my wallet must have been for her. Bob and his mistress were often close together, making it easy for the PI to get good pictures. I'm going to divorce you, Bob, and I'll be demanding alimony. And, of course, from your colleague, the mistress as well. Expect a certified letter at your office. Smirking at Bob after receiving the PI's results, I headed straight to a law firm. Even the lawyers seemed rather taken aback by the conclusive evidence I presented. How dare you? Bob spat out, clearly irate. When a certified letter arrives at the company, even without opening it, they'll probably have a pretty good idea of what's going on. It's not just going to Bob, but to his mistress at the same company. Surely, everyone at the office will find out about their affair. Hey, Bob, are you okay? The situation has taken a dark turn, and Jane sounded anxious. Jane must have been planning to have Bob and me take care of life's chores for her, intending to lead a leisurely life. Jane has a long history of being a housewife, and it's unlikely she can start working now. Bob is the only one to rely on, and it can't be helped, I guess. Bob, what are you going to do? I haven't worked a day since graduating from high school, and there's no way I'm doing a part-time job now. Hannah seems slightly troubled as well. Even when Jane and Hannah blame him, Bob remains silent, unable to say anything. I delivered a further blow to Bob. Bob, you probably haven't saved any money, have you? It's said in the investigation report that you've been generously spending on your mistress, even bought her the new designer handbag. Maybe you're in debt too. I dropped a bomb, and whether Bob is shaken up, he can't find the words. Ignoring him, Jane is yelling at him. What? You don't buy them for me. But why did you get them for your mistress? Are you kidding me? Plus debt? How much do you owe? I hate you, Bob. Even though I begged so much, you never bought me anything. Hannah also scolds Bob in a high-pitched voice. On the other side of the phone, Jane and Hannah are noisily complaining. Caroline, I really am sorry, so please handle these two somehow. Bob pleaded with me in an exhausted voice. But I have no intention of forgiving Bob. Why don't you deal with it yourself? I'm not involved, and it's what you deserve. Better tell your mistress soon. If you dilly-dally, a certified mail will reach your company, you know? I said to Bob with a smirk. Damn, Bob seemed frustrated. Ignoring such a Bob, I spoke. Well then, do your best, and please give me plenty of alimony. I hung up the phone right there. After hanging up, there were several calls from Bob, but I ignored them. Let Bob and Jane struggle as much as they want. I muttered quietly and set Bob's contact to block incoming calls. After that, my divorce with Bob was finalized. Initially, Bob resisted because there was dual income. Until now, Bob could afford to live even while he just messed around. With just Bob's income, maintaining the lifestyle we've had until now is certainly not feasible. It seems like Bob understands that, which is why he doesn't want to divorce me. However, I have decisive evidence of Bob's infidelity. Ultimately, I conveyed to him that I have absolutely no intention of reconciling, and that I will take legal action if he doesn't agree to the divorce any longer. With that, Bob, hanging his head down, said, I'll agree to the divorce, and stamped the divorce papers. So I demanded alimony from Bob and settlement for emotional damage from his partner. The amount was determined while being informed about the going rate from my lawyer. I believe it's a fair amount. In fact, Bob's partner paid it promptly. Apparently, she borrowed it from her parents after explaining the situation. However, it was a steep amount for Bob. Can it be reduced? Even though he said that numerous times, I ultimately rejected Bob's request during the meeting with our lawyers at the law office. How about I add on the money you stole from my wallet? I cheerfully asked. Bob turned pale as a ghost. That amount is fine. In the end, Bob, trembling, agreed. After that, both Bob and his partner resigned from their company. The reason was that their affair was exposed within the company. It seems that the delivery of a certified document brought attention to the relationship between the two. Even if the contents of the envelope were unknown, an envelope from a divorce law office tends to be pretty self-explanatory. One can generally guess what's inside. Eventually, Bob resigned because things got uncomfortable. Being the subject of juicy gossip around the office, perhaps he couldn't stand it. After leaving the company, Bob has been working in day labor via an agency. Due to his age, it seems he couldn't find another job right away. But payments won't wait. He has living expenses plus the installment payments of alimony to me, and the mortgage still has a long way to go. Moreover, the debts he likely incurred during his affair came to light. Life's probably going to be pretty tough, I bet. Sometimes I get messages from Bob through the lawyer to me. I was wrong. Please take me back. I'm begging you. I'm barely scraping by. If I'd known this would happen, I would have been nicer to Caroline, Bob says, reportedly weeping in front of the lawyer. I think he's really backed into a corner, but it's too late now. And the situation for Jane and Hannah doesn't look good either. Currently, they are living with Bob, but since Bob has no money, their living situation seems dire. One day, I got a message from Jane on my cell. I had blocked Bob's number, but I hadn't blocked Jane's. Seems like that backfired. Wondering what she could possibly want now, I answered the call. Hello, and the moment I answered, Jane begged me, please help us. We're living with Bob, but he has no money. And our electricity and gas are going to be shut off. We don't even have anything left to eat, Jane spoke in an exhausted voice. I was surprised that their living situation had become so desperate. But I had no intention of helping, so I brushed Jane off coldly. Why don't you work? You're healthy, aren't you, Jane? You used to work back in the day, right? Then Hannah, presumably next to Jane, spoke up. Caroline, isn't that harsh? You're working at a major company. You wrangled money out of Bob and his affair partner. So you must have some financial leeway, right? So you have a duty to support Mom and me. If you tell us your address, we'll come there. Take care of us. Hannah apparently has no intention of working even now. It's truly exasperating considering she's still young. Biting back a sigh, I conveyed my stance. Now that I'm divorced from Bob, I'm a complete stranger to you, Hannah. I have no intention of supporting you, and I don't want anything more to do with you. Don't call me again. As soon as I finished speaking, Hannah shouted, Don't mess with me, you old hag. You should just quietly take care of us. Tell us your address right now. After that, they kept shrieking for quite a while. Their characters will likely never change for the rest of their lives. I have nothing to do with this anymore. Goodbye. With that, I hung up the phone. I immediately blocked Jane's number. I never want to deal with them again. In their current state, they will likely face more hardship. But it's their own laziness that brought this upon them. I think it's fine if they continue to suffer. A year later, I decided to move out of the shared housing. It's a bit sad to leave where I made friends. The reason I'm leaving this fun and lively place is because I decided to adopt a dog. I met the dog at an adoption event a dog-loving friend invited me to, and I went along. That's where I had a destiny-filled encounter. While other dogs were being friendly with various people, this dog was different. It stared at me intently the moment our eyes met. I thought this dog might need me. After that, I attended the adoption events many times and deepened my bond with him. After several visits, joyfully, I was allowed to adopt him. However, the shared housing doesn't allow pets, so sadly, I had to move out. Now I live in a pet-friendly apartment. Dogs don't betray you, and it's so cute when I call. He runs towards me joyfully. There will probably be various difficulties in the future, but I'm not alone anymore. I want to move forward, facing forward, supporting each other with this beloved dog.